I just felt so anxious. I'm like, I gotta say something. I don't want to be the person to make the first move, but somebody gotta say something, because this is just, the anticipation was just crazy. And I remember kind of like walking out of the sanctuary doors and then coming back like, I gotta say this. And I remember just trying to get it out. I was about to say it and you looked at me like,
and I said,
don't say
anything. And it's hilarious at this moment because we both know what this is about.
And I was like, what?
And then I walked out.
And you just walked out all dramatically.
As all great love stories should start, we started out as friends. A huge thing that was important for me at this stage in my life was the ministry of the gospel. Mm-hmm. And I remember and being unashamed of that. And that was something that my relationship with God was just really important to me. And so there was a particular day, me and my brother both have a film background. And so you asked me and my brother to record a class you were doing, mm-hmm. because you were going to, you were in cosmetology and you were doing a makeup class actually. And you wanted to record it so you'd have the footage to offer other people, sell the course, whatever. So you're teaching a class and me and my brother are recording. And the last day of this class, and you had two students. I remember this very clearly. The man and a woman.
So detailed.
I remember the details, man, because this moment was a very important moment in our relationship. And at the end of this makeup course, it had been a few days, and it's the last day, you began to talk about, in the close out of this thing, before you gave them the certificates to say they graduated, you began to talk about your faith. And you began to talk about Jesus and who he was to you. And you offered an altar call right there, an offer for salvation. If I remember correctly, neither one of them answered it. Maybe they were already saved, they just weren't interested or whatever. But you unashamedly did that. And that impressed me. Even I hadn't done something like that. I was bold enough to do something like that, but even I hadn't done that. And that truly impressed me. And you had to tell me if that was something the Lord led you to do, if you struggled with it or not, or if you were just like, yeah, I'm going to do it. You always intended to do it. But whatever that was for you, God engineered that moment and for me to be there to see that, so that I could notice you and say, okay, it was that moment that I was like, I always knew you were an attractive woman, but I was like, that's wife material, you know? It wasn't that I was like, okay, I definitely got to marry her, but it was like, I just noticed you and highlighted you. I was like, okay, that's what I am looking for. Mm-hmm. You know, whether that was you was for further discussion, but what you just did there was a sign of something, of someone that I am looking for. There was a period of time where we both talked about, having journals or dream books, things like that, and different things I was believing God for. And I had your name written down in there as someone that was like, I want to marry Casey. But I was nervous about it because of the age gap. Not that I had an issue with it, but I wasn't sure how our parents would feel about it.
Yeah. And
so I had your name in that book, and it was something that I was debating with back and forth. I wasn't struggling with anything else I was believing God for, but I was struggling with this. Like, is it right for me to even be believing God for this? And I just couldn't settle on it. I couldn't hear from God properly on it. So one day I went for the Lord and said, you know what, Lord, I'm crossing this out because this is causing a contention for me, my relationship with you. And I'm just going to be done with that. I'm just going to throw it away and just lose this desire, because all I care about, Lord, is pleasing you, having desires that you put in my heart. I'm not sure about this one, so I'm crossing it out. And I just crossed your name out the book. And then something happened after that. But now I want to give you a chance to tell some things from your perspective, and we can come back to that. But something happened right after I did that.
Well, ministry for me is very, very important. I mean, he just told you I am a PK. My family has always been in ministry ever since I was a little girl. Before they were even ordained pastors, my family would evangelize our hometown, our area, and those neighboring. And so I grew up with the passion to reach the lost. And anything that I was a part of or did, it was going to promote the gospel. So me preaching at the end of a makeup class, which I did often back then, was not uncommon or something that I was ashamed to do, because I want people to realize that any manner of success I have, I give that glory to God. But so as far as my attraction to you and what led me to believe that you were husband material was the same thing. You had a desire to minister. And not that I had this thing where, I had to marry a minister or...
I think you actually did want that in the past when you were younger.
Well, when I say a minister, like ordained or a pastor or whatever, I was definitely not seeking a pastoral situation. I have a lot of background insight into that. And I wasn't chasing that. And I knew that that was not something that you chased after. Either God puts it on you or he doesn't. But the case was I did want someone that wanted to minister in any kind of capacity.
Yeah.
I just knew that. I saw myself being with a man that we would use any platform that we were on to minister the gospel. And at the time, I was, and I still am, but I was a practicing cosmetologist back then, makeup artist. And I had this idea that my husband will also be in the same industry that I was in. And I was like, yeah, we're going to own salons and we're going to do hair together. We're going to minister the gospel on the platform, in the platform of cosmetology and beauty. You know, I thought that because to me, everything was a platform to minister the gospel. Him having a desire to minister was very, very important to me. In our church, we had what we called Jesus Experience. And it was something that God placed in my heart, and your brother, his brother. And we came to my dad, the pastor of the church at the time, and said, you know, God's placed his burden on our heart and we want to share it. God had given us a collective message to preach.
Yeah.
And so he okayed it and we put on this event, and it was a powerful event. People got born again, healed, delivered. And we all had a segment to teach and minister. And I can remember sitting on the platform and watching his segment. He's teaching and disseminating the word. And it was like, I like this. You know, again, for me, it just felt so at home and it felt familiar because my dad, he preaches the gospel, and my dad, he is in heaven with the Lord. But to me, my dad was the greatest teacher to ever walk this earth outside of Jesus. You know, I could be biased, but anybody that's ever encountered his teaching will say the same thing. He was just anointed to do it. And now my husband, you know, he teaches so well, and I love how God uses him and teach the word, and he breaks it down. Even in our personal time, I guess I'm kind of off the rails, but even now that we're married, and in our personal time one-on-one, and how he shares the word with me, I really enjoyed that. But going back to the Jesus Experience, I'm watching him do this, and I'm like, yeah, this is legit. Like, I like that. And it was kind of like a ping in your spirit, like ding, you know, like to check mark this individual here. Yeah. And from that moment on, it just became like I respect him a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really just kind of came into. We were friends, but I began to really like respect you as a man, and respect you because of your relationship with the Spirit of God. I knew the anointing of God was on you. And from that point on, the Spirit of God just began to like minister to me about you.
And what was interesting is I forgot how much Jesus Experience played a role in our relationship. Because yes, we all had a part to teach. It was 3 parts. So we did 2 events. We did one in the summer, and then we did one
near the fall.
October. We actually did it on the day of Halloween. It wasn't a Halloween event. If anything, it was more like, hey, we're
anti-Halloween, yeah.
So we did this event. And after each one of these events, we would come sit in your dad's office, and he would critique or you know, admonish and say, you know, good, things like that, because he was training us, you know. And it was clear that all 3 of us, there was something in our future in regards to laying hands on the sick and preaching the gospel, evangelizing of some sort. So we were submitted to his oversight to say, okay, how do we do? And he would tell us, you know, and train us. And on the second one, I changed my message up a little bit. And it wasn't like at the time like I did something wrong, but he critiqued my message and said, this is what you did this, but you should have did it this way. You know, you should have did it this way. So I was the only one, because y'all's message stayed the same. I was the only one that he had like critique notes for, to say, instead do this differently. He actually told me, next time, teach this. So you gotta go back, basically rewrite your sermon and teach it from this perspective. And I remember when he was giving all that, it wasn't a struggle because I was submitted to my pastor and everything. But when he gave that to me, I noted how there was a moment there where I could see where people mess up. They know that God has called them to something. And when they get any kind of pushback from leadership, they get cocky and prideful and
Yeah,
say,
they get
I
offended.
know that you don't, or whatever, or you're trying to hold me back or something like that. Just that prideful nature. I saw that this is that pathway where people get off.
Yeah.
And I saw like, oh, this is where that happens to people, but it's not happening to me. And I heard everything said. I received it. I went home and wrote my message. But when I walked out of that office, you stayed, and something happened.
Well, my dad actually called me back.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
We was walking out and he called me back. And it's a lot of front story to this too, but he called me back to the office, and you had to know my father to even understand the gravity as to what I'm about to say. My dad was a no-nonsense person. He could talk to you with a very straight, non-expressional face with the most love and compassion. He just was not a person that was ruled by his emotions in that way. But he sat in this chair. He had one of them high back office chairs, very, stately high back chairs. And he kind of looked up. He looked up, and he kind of leaned back a little bit in his chair. I can remember it so vividly. And he looked at me and he was like, because he knew what he was about to say was going to change the trajectory of my entire life. And he said, if you want to marry Jalen, you can. And I can remember like that slow roll in my eyes at him. And I'm not confrontational as an individual, as a rule. But I got in my dad's face and was like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? And I remember saying these words to him, and it just coming out of me. And he was like, the Spirit of God been, minister to me about Jalen, and I like him, and I think he'd be good for you. Like, you can marry him. And him saying that way gave me confirmation that the Spirit of God was speaking to him. Because not quite a whole year, but several months before that happened, before my dad said that, the Lord had me write Jalen's name in my journal. We was during a time where we were fasting, praying, and listening to the word intensely, and the Spirit of God spoke to me that Jalen is to be your husband. I was nervous to write that down because, again, the whole age gap thing was freaking me out. I didn't know if my parents, his parents, or anybody would shine approval on this thing. And so I just kept it to myself. And I said to the Lord, I said, Lord, if this is you and you want me to be in this relationship, you are going to have to orchestrate it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to do anything. You will have to work it out with my parents and everybody involved. I said, because I ain't messing with it. Because I ain't going to look like we were fool. Like, no. So for my dad to say that to me so directly that way, I knew it was the Spirit of God. Yep. And I can remember leaving my dad's office, not really feeling happy. It wasn't like, yes, the word is working and it's confirmation. It was none of that. It was like, what the heck? Like, what is happening? And I guess I was I don't know, with disbelief or just pure shock. And I walked away out of that room, not really feeling excited, just stunned, I think. And I kept it to myself. I didn't say anything to nobody. I didn't talk to my father any further about it. I didn't try to investigate. I just didn't say anything. And I walked in the office and went back to work as usual. And you didn't hear anything else until a little bit later.
And now we'll come back to my side of the story. But real quick, I want to jump in here. Navigating parents and all that is a big deal with age gap relationships, and we get a lot of questions from people about that. And we didn't mention this part of the story, but your dad used to be against age gap marriages where the man was younger.
That's why I was like, Lord, this gonna have to be you.
So a lot of things changed in that time frame, right, when that October when that happened. But saying all that to say, we created a series for people like you who are entertaining or are in an age gap marriage, and you got all these questions, including how to navigate the parent issue. So we created the Age Gap Marriage Survival Guide. Okay, that is on our subscription platform, Marriage U. If you join, become a channel member. So there's a join button underneath this video, hopefully for you. If not, leave a comment. We can send you a link. But you can join up, become a channel member on our YouTube channel, and get access to Marriage U, the subscription service that will give you access to the Age Gap Marriage Survival Guide. It's a 6-part series that tackles all kinds of issues, from is the age gap relationship right for you, to parents, to children, to all the different issues that you might
It's
deal
good
with.
stuff.
And then it's a very good series. We just recorded it. We want you to watch that. There's some other content on Marriage U as well. But I just want to throw that in there before we continue the story and get back to what happens next. So I left his office. That stuff's going on with Casey. I don't know anything about that. But I leave his office and I go back and rewrite my sermon. I bring it back to him, sit in his office, share it with him as I've got it. He's like, good, you're good to go. All right. That's the reason I bring that part up, because nothing happens there. Now, let's go back to the very beginning when I was talking about I wrote in the book Casey and then I crossed her name out. All right. That's all happening within this same year. Okay. This all happening within the same year. I probably wrote your name down maybe in the summer and then crossed it out like that's
Same day.
no, that season right there, that whole October, November season. So
I crossed those out immediately because I was like, Jalen, cross out. Jalen, cross out. Jalen, circle, cross out. No.
so then, I feel like it's a day, or no more than a week after I cross your name out. I get in a conversation with my mom.
Was it in pen or pencil?
I think I wrote with pen most of the time.
Permanent.
It's like God intercepted, because I'm extreme like that. Like, I don't care what I desire. Like Jesus, not my will but yours be done, Lord. Like, I will kill a desire for the Lord's sake, whatever it is that I want. So, but the Lord intercepted. I got a conversation with my mom, and long story short, this conversation with my mom ends with me discovering that my parents are pro Jalen and Casey.
Yeah.
And
And it had been some discussion for a while.
apparently.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, this changes things. And there was an implication that maybe her parents were okay with it. And I was like, oh. Because my greatest fear and concern was, because I knew that her father was not a fan of age gap marriages. Did I think that could be an exception? Yes, I felt like it was possible. But that didn't mean I was brave enough to do anything about it. So this changed things. So I have this conversation with my mom ongoing, and we just kind of talk about things, and it makes me very comfortable with everything. Kind of like your dad seems it made you very comfortable. And it's like, okay. So what happened next? Well, and this is where it's different for the role of the husband, right? This is where it's a little bit different. Although I was excited and happy that essentially some of these barriers were removed, I also caught something pretty fast. And something that I didn't even realize was a tendency of mine, but that I could let the opinions of people that I respected kind of make decisions for me, and not actively make a decision myself. And it's kind of flowed into whatever everyone that I respect says right there. But I knew with a decision that's important, that wasn't going to fly.
It had to be yours.
And so I challenged myself, and I got before the Lord. I got my notebook out, and I said, okay, Lord, if I'm going to do this, I've got to be a man and make a decision. It can't be, it's the Holy Spirit, because it was like, I can't get married to her and then somewhere down the road be dissatisfied or feel like the marriage isn't working and then blame everybody else because they told me she was a good option for you. And somehow I just knew that wasn't going to work. And so I got my notebook and I said, Lord, give me a vision for her. I was a man of vision, and God gave me visions for days for my life. And I said, but I need a vision for her. How she fits into my vision. And God spoke to me and gave me a vision for Casey. And he said, this is who she is. This is what she's going to do. This is the role you got to play unto her as her husband to fulfill it. And it was basically like your mission if you choose to accept it. That's basically what it was. It wasn't even God saying, I'm making this happen for you. This is the possibility. This is the vision if you choose to accept it.
Exactly. And I just want to harp on that.
Yeah.
Is that you had to choose to accept it. Just because God shows you a vision, just because you have all the confirmation in the world, you still have to accept it. It's not going to be forced upon you. No. We could have both easily said, no, we're too afraid of this. We're not going to do it. We're not going to step into this. We both could have said no. And that's what you have to understand. So, and that put the responsibility in our hands.
Exactly. And so sometime after that long, I went back and forth on, I had that. So that I had a confirmation from God, like, okay. And I decided I wanted to marry her. But I was still scared to go to her dad. It was still just it's another thing to imagine it, but to go do it. And I remember one day where, and this is where the physical attraction came in. But I'm just kind of watching her, look at her differently now, and I just looked at her, and we were standing somewhere, and what it was our families would work out together sometimes. Well, you work out with my family. And so we were at the gym, and I was like at a squat rack or whatever, and you had just finished something else in the gym, and you kind of came over and was just talking to me. And there's a little leg on where the leg of the squat rack, so it's secured to the ground. You kind of stepped up on it and kind of like fell back or whatever, but you just like seeing if you could like, I don't even know why you stood on it. I really don't know, but you were just kind of being playful or whatever. But when you stood up on it and I'm in a squat rack, it brought you kind of close to me. And I know you weren't being intentional or anything, but it kind of brought you close. It's like this gust of wind, and you standing up.
Gust of wind.
It's like, you know, a little like, it just felt very cinematic. And my mind is kind of cinematic, so it's probably my fault, but whatever. And she stood there, and my heart literally jumped when she got that close. And then you kind of like fell back or whatever. And you were just oblivious, talking about whatever you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, I got to do this.
And I'm so surprised. And I know y'all been like, oh, come on. Y'all knew. I'm so surprised that we were able to keep to be collect
Yeah.
through this process, because like he said, and he talks kind of fast, I don't know if I caught that, our families will work out. Our families are closed, have been closed for a long time. And so I hung out with his mom like all the time. I talked to his mom so much. We were friends. Me and his mom were friends way before we were mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship. And so I would talk to his mom all the time. We worked out, we hung out, you know, I would be invited to a lot of things. So it wasn't uncommon for us to be in the gym at the same time. So, yeah.
Yeah, because you and my mom even was about to start like a fitness club for the church.
Yeah.
That's right, I remember that. Yeah.
And so I was into fitness, my husband was into fitness, all that stuff. So it was not uncommon for us to be in the gym at the same time. And so, like I was saying, all this is happening. My dad told me he was cool with Jalen. He knew the family was cool with him. Yep. But somehow we were able to keep...
Because we weren't talking to each other about this.
Yeah, we were not communicating.
We weren't seeing each other, we weren't dating. There was no romantic anything happening between us.
We were still
friends.
working.
Yeah.
I mean, we worked together in the media team at our church, and we were still just doing business as usual.
And preparing for the next Jesus experience.
Yeah.
You know?
And so...
but then the very next thing that happened was... I was like, after that moment at the gym, I was like, I got to go to her father. And it wasn't even that I was trying to get married immediately.
Right.
It was just, I needed to hear it from him that he was on board with it so that I could plan. Like, if I have something from God and it's like, I need to be able to start, even if it's going to take years, you know what I'm saying? And in my mind, I was comfortable waiting years to marry you. Like this story gets funny, maybe a little further on. We have very different timelines in our minds, but I was cool with that. I was not trying to get married like immediately. This was in 2014. Okay, we got together in 2015, so it happened fast. But in 2014, I was just needed to hear it from him so I could make plans and prepare myself. And so I went to him, and this might have been November
of 2014.
So I go to him, and I do the conversation. I'm like, I'm interested in your daughter, Casey. And I tell him, I want to marry her. I'm interested in marrying her at some point. I said, but you're a father. You're both our pastors. I said, if this don't match up with the vision you see for us, I said, I'll never bring it up again. And he does that thing where he's just quiet, stone faced. You can't tell. You cannot, until you open his mouth, you don't know what he's thinking. And so I'm sitting there, and then he says, yeah, I already seen that. And Mimo, this is him talking. Me and my wife already talked about it, and we think you'd be good. You'd be a good option. We like you, and you'd be good for her. He's like, you gotta get some things in order, because he's very pragmatic. Like, no time to like, yeah, we're all happy. He's like, okay, now he said you need a place to live. You gotta have a steady job, all this kind of stuff. And also, I knew I needed, but it was like I just needed martial art. Like, we're good. All right, I'm gonna get to work. I'm gonna start establishing some things. And so that's all I had from him. That's all I needed. I was good. I walk out of that office, and I had my notebook or whatever with me, and you saw me coming out of there, and I just remember you asking like, something going on, whatever. I'm just like, yeah, good. Just
because my dad and I were not, from the time my dad told me what he said or told me about, you know, you can marry Jalen, all that good stuff. my dad and I did not have a conversation. And I know some of you are thinking, do I have a good relationship? I had a good relationship with my daddy. I don't know why I didn't talk about it more. I don't know. I just think I don't know. I was just like, I don't know. I do not know. I don't know. I think I was just like, I'm not going to touch this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force anything. I'm not going to initiate anything because I didn't know what Jalen knew or what was communicated to him. And I'm like, if he wants me, he gonna have to ask me. He gonna have
But
to
you
come to
suspected
me.
something after I walked out of the office.
After a while, well, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if I see you talking to my dad about anything, it could be about shoelaces. I'm gonna be like, what they're talking about? Like, I want to know. So from that moment on, I'm kind of waiting for something to kind of pop off. Like, okay, something about to happen. So this November, December comes back, nothing. January, nothing. So New Year comes in, 2015, New Year, and maybe it was the Spirit of God, I don't know, but then this like, I won't say urgency, but just like, I won't call it excitement. I don't know what it is. It was just like, okay, something has to happen. It was like October-ish when my dad talked to me, and it's what's happening, what's going on. I began to kind of like feel like, okay, I need to know what's going on. Because we're working, we're passing each other, we're not saying anything.
You don't want me to get screwed up by somebody else,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. So, I'm like, okay, what's happening? Nobody's communicating, nobody's saying anything. His parents won't let me on anything, nothing. And I can remember it was a particular Sunday. It was a normal Sunday. And I just felt so anxious. I got to say something. I don't want to be the person to make the first move, but somebody got to say something because this is going off, like, it's the anticipation, which is crazy. So church service was over and we had,
I remember this moment.
Yeah, and I was the media leader at the time, and so I shut down the booth, and I'm coming down the booth, and he was standing right there at the end of the booth. There's a few stairs to go down, and I can remember like trying to say goodbye, our regular salutations, goodbye, see you next time. And I remember kind of like walking out of the sanctuary doors, and then coming back like, I gotta say this, and I remember just trying to get it out. I was about to say it, and you looked at me like,
and I said,
don't say
anything. And it's hilarious at this moment because we both know what this is about. And it's like, but I don't want this to get messed up because I don't even know the rules. How am I even supposed to handle this? Am I allowed to
and
even
I'm
bring
sitting
this
there
up?
like, and I'm like, you don't even know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But
what are you going to say? How are you going to word it?
I don't know. I was just like, I don't know what I was going to say.
Were you going to confess your love to me? Were you going to ask me if I had talked to your dad? Was that what it was?
I probably was going to ask you if you had talked to dad or not. I don't know. And it was just crazy. And you was like, don't say anything.
I said, just do not say a word.
And I was like, what?
And then I walked out.
And you just walked out all dramatically. And I was standing there like, what is going on? I can't take this anymore. So I go home. And, I lived with my parents at this time. And I go home. And it's a typical Sunday afternoon, and we eat dinner, and everybody go to separate ways, and I'm in my room, and I'm just like, God, this is frustrating. I don't know what's happening, and nobody's talking to me.
So, and then like me and her dad had a conversation. I had that one conversation. That was it. You know?
And listen, oh my gosh. So I remember going to my parents' room, and I'm like, Dad.
Was your mom in the room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in the room. No, wait, I'm missing something. Prior, I don't know the time gap between my dad telling me I'm okay with Jalen.
Yeah.
And maybe not too long after that, my mom, we kind of collided in the kitchen, and she had that whisper like, did your dad tell you about Jalen? Like, and she whispering in the house, and I was like, yeah. And I didn't go any more detail about it. It wasn't like, giggle, like so happy. I don't know, I didn't want to talk about it. I don't know for some reason why I just didn't want to talk about it and deal with it. I don't know what it was. I was just like, ugh. So we didn't talk about it more after that. So anyway, it was that Sunday, and I remember going to my dad. I was like, Dad, did you say anything to Jalen at all about what we talked about? And my dad, and
It's
his
so funny.
stoicness, and he was like, "Oh, I thought you already was talking." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm not saying anything. He's not saying anything. Like, what is happening?" Oh, I know what it was though. That really kind of pinged me off
Oh.
that something was going on. I was over his parents' house again because I'm always hanging out. We were always friends, brother's friend, my brother. We all hung out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over there. We was watching Once Upon a Time. I think it might have been. Was it?
Oh, it was one time. It could have been. That was
Could have
the
been.
era, I think.
You know, and I had a SpongeBob pillow that I love. I was a SpongeBob fan back in the day, but they were always joking about SpongeBob. They would berate my SpongeBob every time I would come over there. It was just like they would rip my SpongeBob apart. So I had SpongeBob with me, and I remember having SpongeBob. It was next to him. Now, any other time, if SpongeBob was even in their vicinity, it was throw it to the floor. It was abuse to my SpongeBob, but he was chill about it.
You took a picture of me with the.
I took a picture of you with SpongeBob next to you, and you was doing nothing to SpongeBob. And that, I just felt like I knew. I said, something is going on. And it might have been that very weekend that everything was, I was
So your
like,
dad said, thought y'all was already talking.
I was like, he's like, I thought you already talking. I'm like, no. If you was already talking, you would know about. What do you mean? It was already talking. I don't know. Maybe my dad thought we were adults, that we just knew what to do from there.
Well, he was trying to get you married off. He was like, look, let's speed this up.
I'm like, no, we were not talking about anything. So I get on the phone hastily. I dial your number and I said, why didn't you tell me that you talked to my dad? And you was like, I don't know if I can talk about this.
I didn't know what to
He was
say.
like, I don't know if I can talk about this.
And my mom was.
And you hung up on me.
That just settled it.
You hung
I
up on me.
said, I'm gonna go because I don't know how much I can say, and I was not expecting you to call me knowing this. This wasn't how I planned it would go out. You understand? I was starting my first job the next day, Monday, so I'm still in build something mode before I approach her about anything, however many years that would take. That's what I'm on.
I didn't have years, bro.
She calls me and derails the whole plan, so I'm like, I don't know what to say.
I didn't have years, okay?
So I cordially hang up.
No, you hung up
My
on me.
mom is in the next room, and I don't know if I tell her she heard the conversation, but I'm like, yo, I don't. And so she calls you, and then y'all are talking.
So she calls me, his mom calls me on the phone, and she goes through the whole like mushy, like, oh my goodness. And she kind of tells me what was been going on, the conversations. And again, me and his mom was always friends. So we talked all the time, but she didn't tell me about this. And so yeah, that's kind of how it all started. That was a Sunday, and I wasn't going to see him again until Wednesday for Bible study. And I have to tell you, it was the craziest time. I had never felt so overwhelmed by emotions, like good emotions, and like I said, we've been friends. Nothing about him was like, I felt so nervous to see him on that Wednesday. And I remember trying to look my best, even though he doesn't see me with and without makeup, dusty, musty, sweaty from working out, like all of that. But that was the day it was like, I must present myself.
That's cute. You're very cute.
And I was just so nervous.
Very girly.
I was so nervous, and I couldn't. And I got to church. I got to church before he did, and I can remember sitting in the booth. I'm trying to fill out my tithe and offering envelope, and as soon as he came around the corner, it was like,
you weren't ready.
I was not ready. I wasn't ready to deal with it, and I'm weird like that. I was not ready to deal with it, and his mom comes in, blasting, "Can you feel the love tonight?" Like she just had, and I mean.
Chill.
No chill whatsoever. His brother is just, he's laughing. His father, hold up story.
My father was cool, but my father is the same of like, just not acknowledge it until you ready to acknowledge it.
He did not acknowledge it. Not
in a negative way. Like that, but
it was just like, this was a big step for our family.
My father was a mushy type. Like, if you wonder who's the parent that wasn't ready to let go, it'll probably be him.
Yeah, his father, he loves his sons.
Yeah. Great relationship. It's just funny. But anyway, it ends with us sitting there that Wednesday night before church,
But
next
nothing
to
to
each other
say.
like this,
Yeah.
not looking at each other directly, but just talking to each other. Like, yeah, so and you know,
And I mean, I tell you, it was really weird because we worked media team, always talking, planning, doing whatever, very sharp. We never had nothing to say. But that day, it was weird crickets and just,
but those good feelings, all those butterflies
yeah.
and the endorphins and all the stuff, like the beginning of a relationship.
and that was right before Valentine.
I had to figure out something fast because this was not my plan to start a relationship.
No.
Day before I start my new job.
I might have been a little pushy.
Yeah,
I had a schedule to keep.
we very much did it on our schedules. So anyway, I had to like get my parents to front me the money because I didn't get paid yet. It was my first job. I even started my first day, so I didn't get paid yet. So I had to get money to do something for Valentine's Day and then pay them back. But anyway, that's how. Yeah, like I said, I was trying to build stuff. I was
So it's my fault. It's this woman that you
Yes.
gave me.
It
That's
all
the
worked out in
reason
the end.
why.
It all worked out in the end.
It all worked out.
Yeah,
But
that's when relationship started. It did.
yeah, that's when we started dating, and it's been an adventure since then.
If you want a follow-up video just about what happens after that, like leading up to engagement, the wedding, all that, we could tell that story. We told it in different videos before, but if you want just the whole thing laid out, just leave a comment and we'll consider making a video about part 2 to what happened after we got together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good stuff. So that was 2015 February we began our relationship, and it's been Jalen and Casey ever since.
Yeah, and we got married in 2016.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Praise God. That is our story. That's the story of how we fell in love. Well, we don't believe in falling in love really on this channel. It's more about walking into love
We
and
walked
choosing love.
and choosing. Yes.
But it's a good title to hit the algorithm on YouTube so you can show up and watch the video. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed that. And we also hope that you'll check out the Age Gap Marriage Survival Kit that is on
Kit?
Marriage U. Is it kit or guide?
Guide.
Guide. I think I said kit earlier.
I mean, I guess it could be a kit too.
Kit
but
guide. Survival guide on Marriage U. Become a channel member so you can get access and watch that 6-part series. It'll be very helpful to you if you find yourself in a situation like ours.
If you find yourself in an age gap relationship, you want the marriage guide.
Yeah. But anyway, that should cover it, I think.
Yeah.
So we love you guys. We'll see you next week for one more Age Gap marriage related video that we think you'll enjoy.
Come back.
See you guys next time. We're Jalen and Casey, saving marriages one story at a time.